Welcome, Andrew, and thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure to be here, Paul. Pleasure to be here.
It's always fantastic talking to you. So, Andrew, you've been around and about a part of Touchstone for quite a few years now, haven't you?
Yeah, from I suppose doing my original mastermind with you,
Yeah.
and Aniko, through to mentoring for the last 2 years or so. Yeah.
Yeah. So before you came anywhere near Touchstone, you're now very much one of the mentors, very much valued one of the mentors, and we love all the mentors. And it's a strong criteria for us that all the mentors not only have got property, but they've been through the mastermind, so they know what mastermind is. So if you cast your mind back 4 years, whenever it was, Andrew, you already had quite a lot of property. You already had quite a lot of HMOs. You were already doing commercial conversion before you ever joined that very first mastermind, however many years ago it was now.
Yeah, that's correct.
What was it that, you had, £1 million plus portfolio, well, probably several £1 million portfolio. So what was it that made you say, right, I want to join, even though I've been a property investor for many years, I still want to join a mastermind?
I think one of the things that you find is that certainly for me, it was a case of we'd self-started without really too much support or guidance.
Yeah.
So we'd been, I suppose, relatively successful, but you think, actually, how much more could I do and how much more could we achieve? So for us, I was looking for, if like, individuals or training companies that could help us go to the next level and sort of make it more of, I suppose, an ongoing business rather than a sort of, I won't say part-time hobby, but more than that. But it was certainly taking it to a different level. And for us, it was as much, or certainly for me, it was much more about some of the business process and the advantage from a holistic business perspective, because we started with SA as our mastermind. But for me, it was much more about business than just SA.
Okay, so service accommodation. So previously, Andrew, you've been HMO specialist, I guess.
Correct, yeah.
What you've taken that service accommodation knowledge and you've fused it with the other great love that you've got, which is commercial conversions, haven't you?
That's right. That's right.
So to give people a feel for what you do now, Andrew, and how you can help other people in the mastermind with you mentoring them, could we maybe just talk about your engine shed at Whitby?
That's fine, yeah. So I've teamed up with Peter Abel, who's also been through the mastermind process.
Yep.
And we've sort of put together a grade 2 listed, as you'd like to describe it, a proper Thomas the Tank engine shed.
I love it. I'm very jealous.
Yeah. So that's been turned into 11 sort of quite high-end luxury holiday apartments. We got the planning permission for 9 of those, and we sort of tried to enhance it because we found in looking at the previous planning that there'd been an alternate planning option, and that was to rebuild the North End, which had been bombed during the Second World War. So we fused, if you like, those two together. We fused the commercial conversion strategy with the serviced accommodation strategy. So we've ended up getting 11 apartments that are now, well, during, depends when you show this, but today's about the middle of October 2020. But for the months of July, August, September, I think the occupancy rate was 97%.
Wow.
In your words, that makes us too cheap.
Yes.
But we like to think it's because of the staycation effect.
Yeah.
And we're well over 80% in October. And last year, which was the first year that the engine shed was up and running from pretty much a standing start, we were 85% in October and onwards. And March, prior to lockdown, that was at 97% for March.
Yes, brilliant. But if we put that together, Andrew, and we give people a feel for the numbers, and then we'll maybe start talking about how you've helped some of your mentees that have come through, the last couple of years since you've been a mentor. What was the purchase price on the engine shed?
So the purchase price was £385,000. Plus the costs,
385, so probably round numbers 400. 400.
Yeah.
And this is a full-on engine shed right next to a railway track.
It is.
In the middle of Whitby. It's gorgeous. Yeah. So what was the rough spend to convert it
So roughly, let's say, including everything, including fees, the conversion cost, the new build bit, etc. I just think about 1.5. So it's about 1.9-ish in total.
1.9 million, 400 to buy it, 1.5 to convert it. And then the GDV, the gross development value at the end.
Okay, so the value that's been put on it is 2.7 million. Our view is that it might be a bit higher.
It's fantastic. I mean, if it's anywhere close to 3 million, 75% mortgage is 2.25. So it's, you're going to be pulling all your money out all day long, aren't you?
Yeah, but the issue that we've got, and this is where mentoring is really important, to learn from what others face. And for me, the key thing that we need to get across is, I'm not a serviced accommodation specialist with a great big history in that.
Yes.
To start with, they won't lend us as much money. They won't lend us the sort of 75%, but there's an agreement that they'll increase the number after 2 years of looking at the book. So, you and I would know that for, if like, those that are starting out. So it's really important that we're able to impart that knowledge so people can put in the right plans for their whole funding through that period.
So you've still got a few 100,000 left in it or something?
Correct. Yeah. So some of my pensions in it. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that next. For anyone watching this that's interested in leveraging their pensions, because you've become very, very good at that. So I know you've got a SAS, and so I guess from your perspective, it's no big deal. There's just a few £100,000 of your SAS tied up in that project.
Correct. So it's earning interest, so it's getting a return on that. But it has become, if like, the bank, and once again, Peter, my business partner, he used his SAS to help us get our next project. So, that we're using it as our bank and our sort of means of getting our projects underway or secured, I suppose.
Which is fantastic. And there's a lot of people don't even know about that. And I know you've become an expert in capital allowances, and I know you've used those capital allowances to allow you to not pay very much income tax and things like that. Yep. So you're very, very proficient in all those areas now. So could you just think about some, whoever you want really, but just people that you've worked with over the 2 years that have come to you and gone on to do something that you've thought, well, actually, I'm proud of that. That's a good outcome for them.
Yeah. So, there are very many people. Some have already had things in train rather, and some just needed that either extra push or whatever. But I think one that sticks out from, if like, just a couple of mentoring sessions, almost before they started to get mentored, was Yanis. And he came with 2 or 3, to explain about Yanis. He's a real action taker. He goes on a course to cement his knowledge. He does something, all right? And with his first few mentoring sessions, he had a couple with me and one with somebody else, I think. And he identifies his opportunities. He then puts together his own sort of analysis. With all of our help as mentors, we're able to then shape those. And it's as equally important to stop people doing things, and encourage them to do the right things. So, for example, and Yanis wouldn't mind me saying, because we were at a 6-figure summit and I used him as an example, or the example of a property in, I think it was Leicestershire. So in that case, he'd got an idea that it would cost X pounds, let's say £30,000 flat to renovate in this commercial conversion. But in reality, it was going to cost more than double that because of the size of the flats.
Right.
They were huge flats. Yep. And so he went away and, fed back, yes, you were right, we didn't want that. So it's equally important to stop people doing the wrong thing or a dangerous thing than it is to doing the right thing. And obviously since then, he's gone on to do several commercial conversions. He's got those being turned into flats, turned into SA, keeping some commercial at the bottom. So I think he's a great example of, if people come with the right attitude, the desire to do, fused with the mentor's ability to guide and either put a brake on if it needs putting on, or just say, yes, you're in the right direction, carry on going, but mind this, and this. He's a great example of both, really.
Something we haven't really talked about, another great example of the community is the very fact that you and Peter Abel, 2 masterminders, continue to work together 4 years down the track.
Yeah, correct.
So excuse
that pun.
Yeah, thought I'd get it in there. You noticed though. So, I mean, something we didn't really talk about with your project and Peter's project was that we talked about the costs. We didn't actually talk about the income. So, would you be able to give people a feel for the income of 11 busy service departments?
Yeah. So the gross, we were originally given an estimate by our manager stroke marketing team. We use Sykes Cottages for that.
Yeah.
And they gave us what they called a conservative £250,000 a year gross income.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to think, by August or not August, by February or March, we were over that figure within less than 8 months.
Wow.
So we were at 270,000, I think, after the first 6 months. And if it hadn't been for lockdown, I think it would have been 350 or more.
So that's strong income from
50,000. Yeah.
I mean, the numbers all make sense, obviously. And so 2 more questions, Andrew. If someone comes onto the mastermind and they've got a willingness to engage, what do you think is, I know this is very difficult because some people come with lots of time, some people come with lots of money, some people come with a big pension, some people come with nothing at all. But if someone engages with the process of being a masterminder and actually puts the work in for a year, what kind of outcomes do you think are possible? And let's say from a standing start, I don't know anything about property. I like the idea of property, but I've never done it. I mean, what would be a reasonable expectation in a 12-month period?
You know my favourite 2 words, it depends.
Yes.
Right? It depends on, I suppose, what line they're going down. So if they see themselves as doing commercial conversions, and I'll stick with that because that's what I probably talked most about, or commercial property. So those 2 things, I think, one, certainly if they're being mentored by me, they should have a good idea of how they can raise money outside of, bank lending, because we run out of money at some point in time. So the key thing that I work with my mentees on is actually trying to make sure that they've got a good presentation or investor pack, so that they can actually go out and they can talk to people confidently about what they do, what they're trying to achieve. So you'll certainly be able to raise money, and should be able to raise sufficient money for whatever projects you're doing.
Yeah.
So numbers of projects, once again, it depends on size, complexity. But if you put the right team together, I mean, I'm typically doing 2 or 3 conversions a year, so ranging from a GDV of £1 million to £4 million at the minute.
Yeah.
So I think I could do more of those, and that's because of having the right teams in place. So once again, getting that in there. So I don't see any reason why people cannot be in a position within a year to have, if like, got themselves out of their day job. I mean, I'll take Peter as an example, and he wouldn't mind me saying this because we've done a little recording about it as part of our engine shed investing in Whitby, that he was able to pay himself a finder's fee. He was able to, for finding it, he was able to pay himself a management fee through the process, and we're continuing to pay management fees on our projects. So therefore, you can, if like, replace your income with a project. And that has to be the right project and has to be able to pay its way. So part of my job is making sure people can see that and make that reality.
Well, I guess at the risk of slightly oversimplifying it, Andrew, it's possible, isn't it, to achieve what many people describe as financial freedom with just one project. It can be.
Yeah.
And we've seen it done lots of times. And I don't want to seem blasé about it, but I mean, for me, I mean, all of our mentors are excellent. You're almost always very, very highly rated by everybody, and everybody wants to spend time with Andrew because you've got that experience of big projects, you've got the experience of raising finance, you've got the experience of joint ventures, you've got the experience of literally financial freedom in one project. And you're typically doing 3 at any one time. And I know you're doing a pub conversion in Cornwall, and you're doing a big hotel conversion, Carlisle, which is again Whitby. And you're just a genuine inspiration. And I want to thank you for spending time with us today.
That was a pleasure.
And I want to encourage everybody that joins the Touchstone Mastermind to think long and hard before passing Andrew's name by on the monthly mentors list. But you're going to need to get in early. He's a popular man. So
yes, it's a bit like Fred Pontin said, book early.
Yeah.
Those of us that are old enough will remember that.
Yeah, like me. See you soon, Andrew. Thanks for your
All
time.
right. Cheers. Cheers, Paul. Bye.
Bye bye.